Caroline's life was cut short in her own home in Glyka Nera, a quiet suburb of Athens, Greece. The man responsible for her death? Her own husband, Babis Anagnostopoulos, a man she had married in 2019. What began as a seemingly happy relationship ended in a horrific tragedy that shocked Greece and the world. The crime. On that fateful morning, Caroline was found unalived in her bed. Police responded to a distress call made by her husband, Babis. When they arrived, they found a horrific scene. Babis was tied up and gagged next to the bed, where Caroline's lifeless body lay. Their baby daughter, Lydia, was in the same room, unharmed but surrounded by the aftermath of the brutal crime. Babis told the police a terrifying story. 3 armed robbers had broken into their home, unalived their family dog, and tied him up. He claimed the intruders had demanded money, and when Caroline tried to protect their baby, the robbers had suffocated her in a violent struggle. He said he fainted after being tied up, unable to save his wife. To make his story more convincing, Babis pointed out how the robbers had taken the memory card from the home's surveillance camera, leaving behind no evidence of their presence. But despite the chilling account, something about the scene didn't add up for investigators. The investigation. The Greek police took the case seriously, and a massive search for the supposed intruders began. The brutality of the crime shook the community, and the authorities were determined to catch those responsible. They even offered a reward of €300,000 for any information leading to the capture of the robbers. At first, police arrested a 43-year-old man from Georgia as a suspect when he tried to cross the border with a fake passport. But as the investigation went on, no evidence tied him to the crime. Meanwhile, the police combed through the neighborhood, searching for any clue of vehicle, DNA, or fingerprints that could support Babis' story. But there was nothing. Then came the breakthrough. The breakthrough. The police began analyzing digital evidence, including Caroline's biometric watch, Babis' phone, and the surveillance cameras in the area. They discovered a disturbing contradiction in Babis' timeline. According to his statement, the robbers had broken in around 4:30 a.m. But the data from the home's camera revealed that the memory card had been removed hours earlier at 1:20 a.m. What was even more shocking was Caroline's smartwatch, which showed that her heart had stopped beating at 4:11 a.m., before the supposed robbers would have even arrived. Even more damning was Babis' phone data, which showed that certain apps were being used while he claimed to be bound and gagged. It was becoming clear that the intruder story was a cover-up. The confession. With this new evidence in hand, the police knew they needed to confront Babis. On June 17, 2021, just over a month after Caroline's death, the police took Babis from the memorial service being held in Athens, under the pretext of new developments in the case. They flew him to Athens for questioning. Faced with the overwhelming evidence, Babis eventually confessed. The truth was far darker than anyone had imagined. There were no robbers. Babis himself had killed Caroline. According to his confession, frequent arguments and frictions between them had led him to commit the murder. He claimed he staged the robbery scene to protect their daughter, Lydia, from growing up knowing her father had unalived her mother. The trial and aftermath. Babis was charged with murder, animal abuse, for killing the family dog, false reporting, and misleading the authorities. The trial began in May 2022, and after weeks of testimony and evidence, the court found Babis guilty of all charges. The court was particularly damning in its assessment of Babis' actions, stating that the murder was committed in a calm and premeditated state of mind. This wasn't a crime of passion in the heat of the moment, it was carefully planned. The judge handed down a life sentence for the murder, with an additional 10 years for killing the dog and a hefty fine. The total sentence came to 11 years and 6 months in prison, with a fine of €21,000. In September 2023, Babis appealed the verdict, but the court upheld the original sentence. He will spend the rest of his life behind bars. As for their daughter Lydia, she was placed in the custody of Caroline's family. Lydia was moved to the Philippines, where she now lives with her cousins, far away from the horrific events that took her mother's life.